Buongiorno everyone, welcome to the instant match reaction. Jesus Christ, I've got Andy waiting in the wings here, but I'll get my little rant out of the way because that was absolutely pathetic by Newcastle today. Really brought back down to earth. Strange one in a way because we're coming up against an Arsenal side that is the worst Arsenal side I've seen in my life. The table proves that. This isn't the Arsenal side of the Invincible era or the mid-2000s or the 90s. There is none of that. They're a bottom half side the way before today's game anyway. I'm not sure if that's lifted them up to the dizzy heights of 9th, but they were floating in around 10th and 11th. They've had a shocking season. Speaking to Arsenal fans before this game, they were pessimistic. They thought they were going to get beat. Although a lot of them were saying 2-1 or 2-2. Me, I was saying 2-1 Newcastle in my preview. Off the basis of form. Off the basis of Newcastle having a good month. Picking up some brilliant wins against West Ham, Burnley, class points against Spurs at Anfield last week. The team really fighting, showing commitment, showing desire. We saw none of that today. We saw absolutely none of it. Devoid of creativity, of passion, of fight. Not one of them wanted the ball. Not one of them wanted to run to try and get onto a ball. Not one of them wanted to press. It was a Sunday training session for Arsenal. It was an absolute warm-up game. It doesn't get much easier than that. I bet you they're laughing. This was a nuisance for Arsenal, this game. It was an inconvenience. They didn't want this game. They've just got back from Spain last night. They didn't want to come up with Newcastle and play us today. Not a chance. They've got nothing to play for this season. Their season lies on Thursday night in the second leg of the Europa League, because if they win that, they're going to win the Europa League. They get Champions League football. They're going to finish as high as 8th probably this season. So the Premier League doesn't matter to them. The Newcastle players act like the Premier League didn't matter to them today. But wake up, lads. We're far from safe. If the Newcastle players are playing the day, that was like a penultimate game of the season, that. No one cares. Holidays booked to Dubai. Let's have a good time. Vegas next week. The players, it's bank holiday weekend. I think they're all fucking hungover. I think they're all absolutely knackered. We look like the team that just played on Thursday night. Not a team that's had a week to prepare for this. Appalling, man. Absolutely shocking performance from Newcastle. We saw nothing. We saw no threat. We let Arsenal have it. They just sat back, enjoyed themselves. Too easy. Way too easy. Jimmy's there in the comments. Get your comments and have a crack with us in a word. Dismal. Aaron, what does Matty have to do? Shelby, I can't get over John Joe Shelby, man. We'll get into the player ratings. We've got the player ratings to come with Kendall after this. But Shelby, Brucey's best mate, first name on the team sheet every week. He has the captain's armband. Shouldn't be even on the bastard bench, man. Shouldn't even be on the bench now, main first name on the team sheet. Absolutely shocking. But I think Brucey, not so much today, me. Like, the players got to hold their hands up. When that team got announced, we're St. Maximin, Wilson, Almiron, all starting. You're laughing. You're thinking, right, let's get out this Arsenal side that's struggling, no confidence, had an awful season, one of the worst in their history, the worst I can remember in the Premier League era. No. Just sit off, let them do what they want. Nothing from Newcastle. Absolutely nothing. Really, really shocking performance from Newcastle. And a wake-up call that the season isn't over. There's about 4 or 5 games left. We've got Leicester on a Friday night soon. We've got Man City. If Fulham do manage to pick up points, then we're right back into it. It's not over yet. The players act like it was over the day. It's really hard to watch that today. Really hard to watch along because it was just a really shit performance. Nothing. Served up absolutely nothing for Newcastle fans. I think we had one shot where St. Maximin had a looping effort tipped over. We had the Fabian Shaw red card at the end. Not a red card at all. Mike Dean trying to steal the show as always. Not a red card. He had a stinker of a game. Granted, Xhaka should have been sent off. Should have had 2 yellow cards. The Mike Dean show comes into full effect. Fabian Shaw off the bench. First appearance in a while after a horrendous injury. Not good after the centre-backs had a nightmare of the day as well. And Clark and Fernandez, Murphy, his worst game since come back. Everyone was absolutely shocking the day. But I'm nearly 5 minutes into my rant there. I've got Andy waiting, so I'll bring in Andy. Andy, how we doing, mate? Are you feeling the same as me? It was an awful performance, wasn't it?
Well, I'm not usually short of words, but I think you've covered everything, to be fair. Like, I mean, there's not really a lot more to summarise on that. I think, to be honest, I think we probably are safe, but I think the players can't believe that, because I believe that if the winnable games on paper are Fulham versus Burnley, Southampton away, but as soon as they drop 1 point, if they get 4 points from them games, then don't beat Man United, then Newcastle's safe. So I think Newcastle's season's been down to Fulham and West Brom. Really, it hasn't been down to Newcastle. It's been down to the ineptitude of other teams, and we've had. Up until the last 2 weeks or 3 weeks, we've had to rely on, that ineptitude of the other teams. And, you know, these performances, it's not a strange performance today because most of the performances have been like this. You know, you can't let the last 2 or 3 weeks disguise anything other than it's been a dreadful season. I think if we won today, it would be dizzy heights of 13th, and it wouldn't be justified because I think Southampton, when they were top of the league earlier in the season, you lost it, had a lot of injuries, got on with it. I know that Hasselhutl or whatever, he was a bit down. He didn't whinge too much. They had a lot of injuries. They're a better team than us most are. But if we had a different manager in, would you get the best out of some of the players that have performed in the last couple of weeks? Because the performances the last 2 or 3 weeks suggest that, you know, we are a bit better than some of the performances. And then you get a performance like today, get back down to earth with a bump, and it's a giant bump at that, because that was a major class difference today. And like you said, that's the worst Arsenal team of a generation. But can you say the same about Newcastle? That's the thing. So it's all relative. I mean, Newcastle have had a few bad eras. I mean, the end of the Souness reign, and then you rebuild. But you've always had some good players around that. You know, if you feel if a new manager came in, we could hit the ground running again, get a few more stars in, and we could be challenging for Europe and that. But I mean, that's an absolutely far cry at the moment. It would take a monumental effort and an owner that's going to back the manager, and it's not really going to happen. So it's sort of, I can see the people that say, well, Bruce isn't the problem, blah, blah, blah. Well, Bruce is a lot of the problem this season, but I can see where they're coming from in terms of he's just going to bring another stooge in, isn't he? I mean, we've had some absolutely terrible managers in the last, 10 to 15 years, haven't we? And the conveyor belt of bad managers is just going to keep happening. Fake stories about takeovers are going to keep happening. You've seen with the Super League, there's too much money in football as it is. They were trying to squeeze out more money. But being in the Premier League is the be-all and end-all to billionaire owners. You've seen that, like Sheffield Wednesday look like they could get relegated. It's certainly going to be them or Derby. You're going to have some big teams in the Championship. I mean, whether we like it or not, I mean, Sunderland being in League One, really they shouldn't be. But I'm not saying it's not hilarious, but you've got some teams like you're going to have Derby, you're going to have Sheffield Wednesday potentially. And status means nothing. You've got some teams that have been in the Championship for a while as well. You've got teams that have, Bolton and teams that are not. I'm not saying they're big clubs, but they've been in the Premier League. If you look at all of even Portsmouth, small team, but being in the Premier League, teams have gotten taste of Wigan not so long ago in the Premier League. They've yo-yoed between divisions. You're going to get teams going bust. Your Berries have went bust. All football league clubs, can claim to have some sort of status, and teams are just struggling. It's so polarised now, the wealth. And that Super Six, including Arsenal, deserve a lot of stick. So, what Man United fans have done today, it's not often I'll praise Man United fans, but fair play to them. I just think, I went off on a tangent there, but it's just football. I think I've just had a lot of rants today. A lot of tangent rants, and like modern day, from everything from that to modern day football. Like some of the tackles, saying they shouldn't be making a tackle in that bit of the pitch. Well, where the fuck are you meant to make a tackle? Like when they say like you can't make a tackle anywhere on the pitch, never mind certain places. I mean, it's pathetic. I mean, absolutely pathetic. And what Arsenal are one of the worst culprits, to be honest. The foreign imports have done a lot for the game, but it's slowly crept in, cheating and diving, and it's indoctrinated amongst the fans. I heard you before saying that Xhaka should have had 2 yellows. Well, on a different planet, you wouldn't have had it. They're not even yellows, man. It's just because the modern day football fans indoctrinated into thinking that they're yellow cards. So we're part of the problem as well, because you had a match and the opposition player makes a tackle and fans are still going, oh, how are ref yellow? Because it's all relative, because that's the rules now. So what Man United fans have done today, we should be doing that until they change the rules, until football gets back to football, and then money becomes less of an object, and then them top 6 are going to be punished. And football can be what it was. But this season, thanks to Fulham, thanks to West Brom, congratulations to them for keeping us up, because it hasn't been us.
We've got Pasty Guy
here. It's a very disjointed run, but I was just.
Afternoon, lads. How's it going?
Afternoon, Pasty. What do you? we'll carry on talking about the Man United process, I think, because I think that's probably more interesting, that game, before we go back to that. So, Pasty, what did you make of the Man United fans? Should Newcastle do something similar before the end of the season?
Well, fair play to them for doing that. And obviously, we've seen lots of that across the country. Chelsea, we saw that happen with Arsenal just the other week. But yeah, I think on the whole, I think all football fans should be doing this sort of thing, but until there is huge reform in our game, because it has gotten out of control. It's like a house of cards, isn't it? It's like it's one that's just waiting to crash down, and that's kind of why the sneaky six have tried to break away from the Premier League and into this Super League.
And what went wrong for Newcastle the day then, Pasty? How was that performance out of nowhere, considering we've had a good month there, good performances, good results, and that was like, say more of that one, and that was like what we've been used to throughout the season, really. Absolute shower of shit.
Yeah, well, we've reverted back to type, haven't we? I mean, you can't help but feel that those good recent results have just been a flash in the pan. But considering who we were playing against, opposition who are, let's be honest, they're banking on the Europa League to save their season, basically. It was a very disappointing performance from start to finish. And we didn't once threaten their goalkeeper at all, although he did have a solid game picking out crosses and whatnot, something that's been one of our stronger suits in recent weeks. But I guess the positives are that our situation, it's still pretty much in our own hands, as it has been for most of the time. Obviously, the negatives, well, there's a lot to pick from, isn't it? We've won 4 from 28 now, and we'll probably be 4 in 30 if we don't beat Leicester or Man City. And I think it just goes to show that if things stay the way they are, if Ashley and Bruce are still here come August, we'll be partaking in this charade all over again, and we might not be as lucky. We might not have Fulham or West Brom bailing us out every time we go on a horrible run of form.
If we've got this, though, if you look at this, right, obviously you just mentioned the next couple of fixtures there. We've got Leicester next Friday night and then Manchester City after that. I think we'll both probably write them two clean off. Burnley and Southampton for Fulham next 2 games. If they manage to win those games, it will close the gap to 3 points, which I think the players didn't really realise today for me. Like, do you reckon, Andy? Do you know what I mean? Do the players for me were playing like it was, well, mathematically safe. I think that's daft. I think there is still to be played for. Obviously, Fulham haven't looked like really winning a game, have they? So, but Burnley and Southampton, if they're going to get too many better games than that, teams that are right down, then we are still 17th.
Yeah, I mean, if we, draw against Sheffield United, then they could sneak some sort of result again, win them 2, then sneak a draw against Man United or better. Then, the goal difference is going to come into it. So, but I would be surprised if it happens. But I just think the fans can believe that, but players certainly shouldn't be. I mean, even players that play like a dead rubber, 5-a-side match on a Monday night after work. The desperation in people's faces in the last minute if they're a goal down wanting to get a result. You don't see that in professional footballers. I mean, when people talk about sort of end of season games and, it's a load of bollocks. There's just no desire there. And if it is totally up to the manager to motivate players, then that's wrong as well. It's the players have got to take some responsibility. I mean, they're not, pride in their own performance. And, you point about Shelby playing as a sweeper. I mean, is he being told to do that, or is he just like too lazy and slow? Like
because he knows he's starting every week no matter what. That's why. That's the reality of it. Also, and you're right. You're right, Andy.
You know, he should be. You know, like you can't.
Yeah.
He's creators with his pass, but you know, I just think that, you know, like someone like himself, he's got to take responsibility as being one of the senior players. Knowing there's a lack of creativity in the team, you have to get forward and just try and be a threat yourself. He needs to be chipping in with 6 or 7 goals a season. Matt Ritchie needs to be chipping in with 6 or 7. They're well capable of doing it. And, you know, it's just laziness. I mean, not bursting the gut to get in the box. You know that, you know, as an attacking midfielder, it's going to be futile. You're very rarely going to make a run and score. The percentages are against you, but no one's going to be a Lampard or a Gerrard, you know, these like X Factor players that score loads of goals. But if you chip in with 5 a season, I mean, that's not hard to ask for a player that, you know, of his so-called ability, even if he's inconsistent. So it's pure down to laziness, like, for me.
Yeah, I think that's the thing, and that's the problem. And when you adopt a loser's mentality, that's what's going to happen. And that's where a lot of our performances have come since Bruce has come in. But answering your question about Fulham, I think they could possibly beat Southampton because they've just gone well off the boil for months now. Burnley, I think, will be more difficult. At the most, I can see them getting 4 points from those games. But I mean, never say never. But I'm more confident about our position than I was a month ago, for example. But the fact of the matter is, you know, with the players we've got, we should not be in this predicament in the first place.
No, not at all. But we are.
No.
But we are, and we've got Leicester. Do you reckon we can get anything Friday night against Leicester?
On paper.
Sorry?
No.
Sorry, say that again.
What are we going to see on paper, Andy?
I was going to say, where would you expect Newcastle to finish, though? Like, even if they had an okay manager?
17?
I mean...
I thought, well, if you remember at the start of the season, Bruce was literally saying we would be aiming for top 10. And honestly, given the standard of the league, I thought that's what we should be aiming for. But we saw that first game against Brighton, we kind of had a reality check after that.
That team should be finishing around probably 12th, maybe even a bit higher. It shouldn't be below 14, 15.
I mean, look at Leeds.
If Bruce in charge, you're always going to be there and thereabouts.
Yeah. I mean, look at Leeds. I mean, a lot of those players were bottom half Championship players a couple of seasons ago.
Yeah.
Where the difference is they've got a manager who has got them punching well above their weight. You know, he's got them winning at Man City, drawing against Man United recently. Yeah, they lost at Brighton yesterday, but I guess they're safe. They're well. They're very much safe, and that's. I mean, if you put Steve Bruce in charge of that Leeds squad,
has someone like Bielsa evolved as well? Because you look at how open Leeds were, how vulnerable they were to conceding, and you look, they've gotten some gritty. The 0-0 against Man United, they grinded out against Man City.
Well, 10, you know, with 10 men as well.
Not just one dimension like show ponies.
Yeah.
There's been some performance. They beat Sheffield United earlier in the season.
I mean,
they've won a lot of games ugly. They've ended okay.
Yeah.
You know.
I mean, they've got hammered by teams with better quality, but I mean that's kind of, you're going to get that along the way. But I guess. But what I would say is but if we do stay up, obviously things can't stay as they are. I think at the bare minimum, Bruce should be going even if no takeover happens.
That's a conversation for another day that we'll have at the end of the season, lads, after a disappointing day for Newcastle. 2-0 to Arsenal. Cheers for your thoughts, gentlemen. Cheers for everyone in the comments. Like the video, subscribe, and we'll see you later.
See ya.